Ladies and gentlemen, this is Red Band from Kill County. He sounds like William Montgomery. I always think it's Will when he's like,
They've been doing the same intro forever. Like, okay, 1 second actually. 1 second.
"Whoa, you had so much time before we started, you piece." Oh my god. What is it? Should we just start over? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I didn't know
Dude.
that one little bit of extra weight was gonna toss it. Jeez.
You're something else right now. I mean, we can fix it in post. Not that we fixed anything in post. Did you grab a beer or something? Like, what's going on? Like, was it at least worth it?
You can say that. No. Fucking furnace. Yes. Which is a high velocity furnace.
Actually, I did notice a lot of that background noise going away.
Yeah, I told you it was that.
Well, that's super weird, man. Because like, I guess yeah, you need an audio studio clearly.
Yeah, I could probably do with a little bit of dampening.
I was gonna throw up some dampening too, like those little foamy pad things, even just for like blasting music a little bit, kind of dampen it a little bit down.
Yeah, well, the main problem is our friggin' furnace is like just 5 years old, and the blower motor thing on it, I think one of the bearings is broken, and so it's fucking noisy sometimes. I've been trying to get it fixed, but my HVAC guy is like really busy and not getting back to me, so trying to do it as cheaply as possible. I don't really want to spend $700 on a new fucking fan when it shouldn't be broken after 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy.
Yeah. Anywho, what were you saying before I got up and broke my camera? Or broke my speaker, I mean?
No, I was just saying we can fix it in post, but I don't think that's something we do just about yet. So, but we're gonna try to get like a, like a relatively succinct, focused podcast that doesn't involve wrecking anybody else's innocent podcast equipment in the studios.
Well, it's just tipsy. It's on
Got in the tequila.
It's a delicate balance.
Well, that would be involved keeping balance. Yes, is the delicacy of it. Well, look, he does have a brewski. You're mixing that with Gatorade.
Yeah, it's the best.
Stay hydrated.
You gotta stay hydrated.
Is that part of your lion's mane routine?
No. They might balance each other out.
So Jaren's always on he's on drugs now, which is a non-pharmaceutical, FDA not approved fungal substance.
It's a fucking mushroom.
That's what they all say.
Well,
I thought AG1 had it. AG1 has cordyceps or whatever.
Probably. I mean, there's the main mushrooms, but the lion's main one is supposedly with the focus and whatnot.
Are you not on AG1 anymore?
No, it's too expensive.
It is a little bit pricey. Julia's actually just started it, so.
Well, you get your first like month or whatever pretty good, but after that, I don't know. I didn't like.
Maybe it's going to get sponsored by it, then you'll be back on that train,
100%.
So you can like be like, look at how strong I am. I'm on AG1.
Sure, I don't know if it does that, but I did notice like I felt generally better after drinking it. And definitely there was a couple times where like it was late night and I was like I need to do some work, so I just had a quick pop of it, and it definitely kept you more alert and just feeling
Is
better.
that because it has like green tea extract in it? Is that just straight up caffeine?
No, no, I don't think there's any caffeine in it. I think it's all just like all your vitamins and all your whatnot. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's good stuff. It's just I think it was like 80 some bucks a month or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you mix in like buying if you actually took vitamins like every day and probiotics, it can actually add up to right. Like those probiotic pills are probably like 40-50 bucks a month if you're getting like the same quantity.
You're assuming that I was spending a bunch of money on other stuff, which I wasn't. So
The thing that gets you is in everything is subscription based models, and that's obviously recurring revenue for everybody who sells them. But for people who buy them, you have one subscription, two subscription, three, four, five, six. Like I don't know how many. It should just be like a running tally. And generally, like I mean, I try to put things through Apple because at least you can look at the subscription section in Apple,
mm-hmm.
and then like it kind of reviews it. And you're like, oh man, I don't even use that. Why am I paying for that?
Yeah, yeah, subscriptions are freaking everything now. It's like
Well,
generally
it's because
most of the
it's a
stuff I
good
don't
revenue.
use. Well, yeah, and it's recurring revenue, and I bet you, I mean, not half, but it's probably a good percentage of people don't remember to turn it off, cancel it, not use it, and they
Yeah.
just pay it and they don't even think about it.
What I do
Because
now is I cancel it the second I subscribe because usually you're like okay like you can use it until it expires and then you really find out if you're actually using it or not because if you go into it and it's like oh it expired then you're actually kind of like oh I guess I am using that and if you
sure,
don't use it then it just doesn't ever relap on you.
mm-hmm. It's a good idea.
Like that's most places you can cancel like right away because the thing that gets you is the annual subscription that you subscribed to last year coming up randomly 12 months later and you're like what the fuck is this and then it's like oh yeah like this thing's on a recurring thing and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden you just drop like a couple $100 on an annual subscription for
and you
something
probably
that you
only
didn't
used for
even
like 2 weeks.
yeah you didn't even remember if you needed it or not like sometimes you just like oh it's a good deal like I'll get it but that's how they get you man that is how they get you.
What I don't get is why don't like things that you'll actually use on a monthly basis do subscription, like a beer subscription
It's true.
or
But
like
then, like, what is it, like
groceries.
drinker, heavy drinker, alcoholic tears and stuff like you just like
But I feel like
different amounts per day show up.
I actually feel like if you could do like grocery subscription, and I know you can do like I mean all the online shopping and stuff like that for groceries. I don't know if Spud or anything like that does like reoccurring things. So like if you knew, you know, every month we tend to get 2 jugs of milk, butter, like all the standard stuff, ground beef, blah 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 blah, and then every month, and then that would hopefully bring the cost down of like those groceries because it's just like a reoccurring thing, and it's like every month we get this because it's like generally when I go out and shopping, it's like the same basic list, right?
Well, the thing that they once we have so here's the thing like you need these near field communications NFC cards. Um, they're generally pretty cheap, but you need like a that to have the data on like shelf life or whatever and then your fridge needs to scan it and your pantry needs to scan it so essentially you have maybe two things that you just run that product by so whenever it goes into your fridge or whenever it goes in your pantry it registers that on a database and you know
I don't get that fancy about it.
yeah you do because like what happened like what some things don't last a week and some things last more than a week so then all of a sudden you have too many things piling up in the fridge that you don't use, and then you are running out of things too soon on the stuff that you do. So like if you do scan that stuff, it's like I don't know, it's like awareness. I'm like, hey, like you even think of this. You have an app that tells you, hey, like you got some stuff expiring soon. Here's a recipe that uses it. Now we're talking. Now we're smacking people around. We're taking their money. That's a subscription right there.
Man, I don't want to know how much money I've thrown away. Like, it's really. I mean, between like the kids not eating the food that we give them,
I'm gonna
and
write this idea down.
it's a good idea.
We go to Dragon's Den, man. With like, if you could design a product that was like, hey, but the thing is getting it on the stuff that comes from the grocery store.
Well, the thing is, getting it like the problem is the process of when you come home, lugging it. Because I feel
You
like
just have a scanner. You just have a scanner.
it.
It's like NFC cards. You just like the new. If you go to Uniqlo or like anywhere else that's like high tech, uh, they have the self checkout that you just put your shit in a big box, and the NFC can determine what's in there, and it just automatically tallies it up. Like you don't have to scan anything. It's just like, hey, you got all these things, and you just take it out of the box.
But that's assuming a huge conversion in groceries, though. Like, what is that even? Is that like a little chip that goes in everything? Like, or is that?
Well, everything has a barcode on it. We already have that
Yeah,
technology.
but a barcode's just printed. Is this something that?
Yeah, it's honestly because so these things are the technology is they don't have their own power pack, but the scanner induces a current in it that then generates a code with data on it. It's very lightweight,
I
very
mean,
very thin.
that's probably what like the Amazon go in and grab and leave kind of thing
Yeah,
is
that's what
doing.
it is. But I think the thing is they're cheap. They're cheap enough, and like I mean, if you wanted to start this thing, what you would do is have like a bit of a recycling model. So what it would be is like I give you a box with one NFC chip on it, and you have a scanner as part of your initial package or whatever, and all you have to do is like I guess as the middleman, you're kind of curating what's in that box of stuff that then goes to the consumer, and then like they just register that they got that box, and then you could at least like no matter what happens, you could always kind of like, as long as your workers or whatever in this business are putting the things in the box that like are accurate, then you're always containing that bit of information. Like box A went to house B, and box
But
C went to house D.
how would you register it as a used product? Like once you get it home and scan it in, it knows you have it. How does it know that you used it?
So here's the thing. Here's a new brainwave. The NFC thing also has like a barcode scanner. So you don't have to make the consumer scan every product because that'd be annoying. But you scan the product that goes into the box that gets delivered to them, and then they just have to like whenever they're done with it, either on the app or just like on their garbage can or something. Like, oh yeah, scan the barcode when you throw it out or
Yeah,
when
but
it's
you're not
empty.
always gonna throw it out though. You'd have to
What do
almost
you
have
what do
like
you
a.
do with it?
Well, not every package is that. It's recycled. It's garbaged. It's composted. It's whatever, right? Like,
I'm trying to think of ways to like reduce the upfront lift of making this apparatus work. With like obviously the premium thing would be everything that goes to the store has an NFC chip in it. But I'm saying that's not possible unless you had like a partnership with like one grocery chain.
oh, but yeah, but you have a partnership with the grocery chain, and then you have a partnership with all the vendors at the grocery chain. It's a logistic nightmare, really, for that part of it, anyways. Whereas, like, if you could just use the barcode that's already in place, okay, it's maybe a bit more cumbersome to start with if you have to scan it in. Or why would you not be able to? You have to scan it at the store already to pay for it. You get your receipt, which has a barcode. Like if I go to Home Depot and I get stuff, it's got a barcode on the receipt, and they just whenever I do a return or whatever, or if they want to like take that sale to a different till, they can just take that receipt, scan that barcode on the receipt, and it auto populates with everything on that receipt. So like, why couldn't you just like when you buy it at the store with the barcodes? Okay, this is my receipt. Scan it, and then it auto populates with all the stuff you already bought. You don't have to scan every individual item. And then when you use it,
That's
just
true.
scan it when you use it.
But I need like the thing with the NFC is that it can like you don't ever even have to manually do something. It's just like passing the object by will like register it.
I know, but it's the initial startup. It's the getting people to start putting those in the products, whereas there's already barcodes.
But see, this is the thing. Like, so like fuck Timu, but like on it, there's NFC 215 stickers. So there's stickers, right? Like you just stick them on things, and they essentially are blank rewritable NFC card tags, and they stick to shit. So like you could, if you were really ambitious, put all these in there. But the thing is, um, you need the readers to also be like on the same database. So like we're talking like a pretty insane infrastructure for this. But I think you're right. People would. I mean, that'd be super easy, especially if you are like using that data, chug that into AI. All your customers have like awareness of expiry times based on. But the thing is, like, imagine the upfront cost of just hiring somebody to like right now match all that shit and then upload that data to the products that are sent out to the customers. You could do it on a small scale, but as soon as you want to scale it, I think you're going to get boned.
I think you can only do it with like a thing like Spud, where
Yeah, it's
it's
like niche.
already where it's already like small organic things, and it's already going through a warehouse, and they're already packing the boxes. And so when they're packing the boxes, they can put it on there.
But the main benefit comes from data being tied to each individual item.
But how would you put it on like a bundle of bananas or like a pineapple, which isn't really like there's no packaging, or a melon?
Well, I don't think people are necessarily wanting to know about like they can. So there's the stuff in your kitchen that you can see. There's the shit you can't see, and then there's the shit that doesn't go bad, and then there's the shit that does go bad. So like if you have those four quadrants understood, and you're kind of just like providing data and insights on like so even then if my recipe for banana bread's like hey you fucking idiot you left your bananas on the counter they're now bad so here's the banana bread recipe like you can still when they got bananas in the box this is all data driven right so essentially what you're doing here and this is the gist of it is you're taking the brain load of the morons of the world like myself who do not understand everything I have in the fridge and I don't keep track of it. So like you're kind of taking that lift and saying like, hey, I have a unique data point for all these different things that you actually in your brain generally do. If you open the fridge, you kind of see like, oh shit, there's like stuff in here that I want to eat because I bought it and now I gotta eat it. Like that's the kind of the gap that you're bridging there. It's just like whether the if you have a solution, is it cheap enough to scale? Does it even solve the problem in a way that makes it less work for people who are willing to pay for that because they don't want to do it? But I mean, essentially, what you're saying is like because we forget to buy groceries at the beginning of the week all the time. Like there are people out there like us that like, oh fuck, like no one went and got groceries on Sunday or whatever. So something did that automatically. But the thing that's most valuable is do they know what I've already ran out of? Because I don't want the same shit just coming in bulk to my house verbatim every week.
Yeah. Well, and it being semi-automatic because a lot of people would like the idea of it, but it's the cumbersomeness of I have to scan it, I have to put it in the app, I have to say that I used it, I have to say that I didn't use it, and now I have it. I don't need it again. I
That's what
have
I
to.
mean. Like you just need to have those data points logged without effort, which is what these NFC tags would help you facilitate.
Yeah, but there's the problem of getting it on the items.
Well, the other thing that's kind of like that's new and might just avoid all of this is, but the thing is, like, you're gonna have cameras everywhere. Is like AI does have image recognition like crazy now. Like, you could be like show a picture of a bunch of shit and it would tell you what's in that picture.
That's true. Well, isn't there
But then, like, does
fridges?
my
There's
camera need
fridges
a
already
fucking
that like.
fridge?
Well, no, there's fridges that already like tell you what's in it.
Actually, doesn't that one LG fridge
It's like a
have a camera on
Samsung
the
now.
inside and then it's like a video feed of the inside of your fridge and then it just displays it on a monitor because they don't want to have a glass window. It's like cheaper and better installation to put a LED screen on the front and a camera inside.
Well, I think it's because the screen does other stuff, but if you want it to, it'll display what's in the fridge. To which, like, I'm like, who's got enough of an organized fridge to want to like have it on the door?
We do. We definitely do.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Can't wait until you have kids and your life is completely tossed.
We're spending all this time researching and developing the ultimate parental like package. We're gonna fucking machine engineer.
I mean, it's a good. It's
It's
just,
I'm watching other people have kids and I'm taking notes.
yeah,
I'm not
okay.
going to tell you what your notes are.
Hey, I've got really sweet kids. Okay,
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with you.
it does.
I'm just kidding.
Jensen on the
Oh yeah,
weekend.
you're trying to take credit for that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Jensen on the weekend. I was working all weekend, and so he was with Lydia, and they were like upstairs, just cleaning up. Lydia was trying to like do some laundry or something, and I guess Jensen was like, "Mom, you go rest. I'm gonna go make your bed and tuck you in." So like he went off on his own, and I didn't even know that like he was completely on his own. He went off and like made our bed and just like pulled the sheets over and made it all like. And then he was like, "Mom, I'm gonna tuck you in." And like he actually like made the bed. Like I got home and I saw like I thought Lydia actually made it. Aside from like the the like fitted sheet was a bit messed up, but it
Wow.
was already messed up. But he just like put the quilt out and he was like, it was very sweet. He's a sweet kid.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy those things while they last because then they grow up to be assholes like you and me.
Well, I was just gonna say
It's true. Mom's always like, "Oh, you're such a sweet boy."
what happened.
So I was like,
What the hell
I don't
happened?
mind that. I mean, like, I don't know. You can't. Fuck. Like, you can't stay sweet. I don't. I think the world's too crooked to allow people to be naively sweet forever. That's what being a kid's. Why being a kid is great. You can kind of live with that as your reality. But then, like, that's, I guess, the awesome part about being a parent is you kind of get that reflected back at you. You're like, hey, this person's like innocently interpreting things without the jaded bitterness that I have in my soul, and I get to kind of like have a little bit of that in my day.
Oh man, it's fucking wild. Like I knew that was like part of it, but you don't really know until you like feel it and you get home and you're like, if something bad happened that day or like some bad news, just like the general like shittiness of knowing what's going on in the world. And then you
Yeah,
get home or you pick them up from daycare and it's just like they don't care that like that Kamala Harris is a person. Like they don't know or care or like all they care about is you having fun and just like the innocence of it is really refreshing and it's really exciting and nice to see, but it's also kind of melancholy because you're like just waiting for that to kind of go away no matter how hard you like try to shelter them. You know that like something is gonna be shitty and they're gonna realize like you did at some point that generally the world's a mess, but I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I think the world's just like it's hard to say because like does the world become mess when it is like 1984? You know, like was there worse shit in history? Or are we moving to somewhere like I don't know, I guess maybe I'm getting externalized or what is it? I forget what the term is. Existential. That's what it is. Existential dread. I don't want to switch your nice comments about having these kids that are in your life making things better. But I was kind of wondering, like, what's that singularity point where it's just like, ah, fuck, like we're not coming back from this. I've kind of been wondering over the past, like, since COVID, because things kind of came back. It seemed COVID was good when it was like everyone had like a actual summer vacation as an adult, and if you weren't sick and dying. But even then, like most people who died from it had a lot of other fucked up shit in their life, anyways, health wise. So it was like, I don't know. Most people had time off and like things kind of were bad, but then they got back to normal. And I'm like, but now normal is moving in a way that does not seem great.
Yeah, honestly, like it is funny when you think about like it's honestly like before COVID and after COVID because you
Yeah,
kind of
it is honestly like a time slice,
it's
right?
so weird, man. Like it's literally it feels like in the Avengers with the snap. It's like that those couple years are just like a weird ghost 2 years where you don't even know what the fuck was going on. There's honestly days where I miss COVID sometimes, like in the shutdownness of it, like the stoppage of just the fucking rat race and just the busy, 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 and just like you kind of had an excuse to just like shut down,
I wish
which
I would
is
have
like,
gone fishing more. I wish I would have gone like out hiking more and stuff. Like I feel like I didn't
yeah,
take
but
advantage of just going out.
because like I was one of the few people who was like still having to go out for work when COVID happened because like I couldn't stay at home, and so I was like still driving around, and the roads were like dead. There was no traffic. There was no nothing. Like it was just like it was so weird, but also like really nice.
But it kind of makes you wonder, like, does everybody really need a job to be happy? Do we need money stuff? Do the wheels need to keep turning? Because inevitably, like, no matter how much the wheels turn, somebody's getting squashed underneath them, and like we're all taking our turn, if not just constantly being squished.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it is a burden, like the majority of our time is spent at work. The majority of our time is spent chasing money because we bought things that costed money and now we have debt for it. And then they're more willing to offer you debt than relief. They're more willing to raise taxes than lower them. There's like, like everything is kind of just like, that's what I mean by like, is this getting like, where's the point where it's just like, this is so bad. It's, like we're not coming back.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. I feel like
Because it
it's
was
definitely
good.
like it's on the kind of precipice, I guess, of something like that. It's just it feels like the spread between like the well off and the not so well off is like really wide, and even like the middle class is
The middle
like
class doesn't even exist anymore.
no, it's like there's the average person who's just like trying to do their best, and then there's like the rich person. Like there isn't like a you know you could work a 9 to 5 and be comfortable. Like because even if you bought like even if you bought a cheap house, that's still a very expensive house. Like, and if it is really cheap, then you have to put a bunch of work into it, so it's not cheap anymore. And then I don't know.
But
There's
even
just
then, like the people, I forget who's saying it, but like in Canada at least, like if you were to even equate what you were able to buy less than 100 years ago. Oh, why are you yawning? You made me yawn. The
always tired.
yeah, fuck. Like the average household income would have to equate to over $220,000 to be a year to be equitable with what was being made versus what just housing cost back, like when Grandpappy was buying a house. Like people are like, I saw a comment on a video. I was like, I'm like, the days are actually just gone where your grandfather went and worked at the drive-in movie theater and somehow was able to buy a car and a house, and the wife was at home with no
Mm-hmm.
job,
Yeah.
and he was saving for retirement. You know, like that's the American dream, or the North American dream, whatever you want to call it, is now just like you can have so many luxurious things that people have never had before. Like, we do have a really high standard of living, but the debt burden, the cost of it all is 100% shifted onto just the average person.
Yeah.
Like even in Calgary, man, it's just like, oh man, like they're fixing the pipe again. They're throwing money at an arena. They built like this LRT system that's cost twice as much or three times as much as it was supposed to. And now it's half as big. Like, the fuckery that is paying for shit that doesn't, like, my taxes are paying for this stuff that I didn't want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even doing what it's supposed to.
It doesn't
And
work half the
100%,
time.
but like whoever's building that rail line or whatever is fattening the calf. Like, they've literally like promised the world they're still getting paid. There's no way that margin isn't built in. And then, like, even at the end of the day, like, you're paying all this money for utilities and stuff like that, and they would jump down your throat if you didn't pay it. And
Mm-hmm.
then, like, the second shit hits the fan, like, whoopsies, I guess we have literally 12 weeks to 24 weeks of your entire summer with no, or with water restrictions.
Yeah.
So like it's just all
And it's
upside
not like your
down,
bill
man.
got cheaper.
No, it didn't.
Like,
And it, and
fuck
it,
you.
and guaranteed, the incompetence of these fucking idiots will come down the pipe at some point and say, like, they'll be like, oh well, it costs a lot to fix the pipe, we're gonna have to raise utilities. Like, you fucking idiots, you probably delayed known repairs forever and ever, and this is why it's now broken. And we're not gonna pay for your mistake. Where's the money gonna come from?
What
I
we've
don't
been paying
know.
the entire time. Like,
Yeah,
there's
where's
no way in hell what we pay for utilities and what we pay for this and this and this and this is not more than enough to pay for fixing, to keep up, keep to for the emergencies. Like, how are like so like as a normal human, you're taught that you should have an emergency fund. So like when these shit hits the fan, they're like, I mean, even with like property taxes and stuff, they're like, oh, we have to make up for this deficit or whatever, so we're gonna have to raise the taxes. And I'm like, but people have been paying taxes for how long? You're saying that like what people paid didn't even cover what it was before, or you just overspent because you're a greedy piece of shit. All these like people in these and oh man, it's like all these big corporations too. Like, I saw it firsthand when we were doing the renovations that I was working with. I don't know if I should name names or not.
Yeah,
But
for
this
the 2.0 viewers that we have, and they're
maybe
both
that's what
us.
goes viral though. Get canceled right off the bat.
We just canceled before we even. Hey, that'd be good, man. That'd be no. Then we
No,
could
but
we could
like,
switch it to notorious or unnotorious.
yeah, fucking shit up. No, but like and I know because I've been in construction for a long time, is like generally those kinds of projects, especially government projects, every single construction company,
Oh yeah.
that is a money cow. Because one, politicians are generally fucking stupid, and you can tell them anything, and as long as they're making money, they don't care.
Well, they don't have any accountability for overruns. They don't have to pay for anything. It doesn't affect
That
their salary. Their performance isn't even graded on their. Like, what is a politician's performance? They get
yeah,
voted out in 4 years. They're expecting that anyways.
it's just such a mess of a system, man. And like the amount of money that got wasted on that project, of just like because they knew they could, because it was cost plus, like it was just you know all kinds of stuff, and it went over. I think like I don't know, it was like double the cost it was supposed to be or something, but it was a lot. It was well over what it was supposed to be.
But that's everything, man. Like even this fucking arena, the city retains no profit, and like 90% of the upfront cost comes from the taxpayer. Do so like here's the thing: is it actually like we're so worried about protecting democracy, but like these fucking idiots don't represent the people. Like so they kick out the Olympics that may have actually brought in global money here in this city, and then like when it comes down to a sports, the Calgary Sports Entertainment Company, they literally just like fucking twisted this shit out of their arm. And the funny thing is, the whole province is paying for this arena, not just
Yeah,
Calgary.
you're
But I
welcome.
guess, but even then, man, like who benefits? I don't know. Maybe some temporary foreign workers that come in and take their cash and then leave. And then, like, who's actually going to benefit from that money that this project um, spurred on? Because no matter what, the expectation of employers is still lucrative profit, and they keep everybody who works in line with by like it's kind of like almost a cabal where the entire country is like, oh, it's rough out there, man. Like the jobs are hard to find. Oh, look at this. This is the going rate for your position. Oh, you should also be performing at a high level so that I can make money off of what you're doing.
Oh, and you
But
also
I'm not
want to
going to pay
spend a
you what
bunch
you're
of
worth.
money on school that you'll actually don't need.
Yeah, I mean, school is probably like the biggest waste of money unless like what you're being trained for is actually what you want to do. But even then, man, like now you can learn a lot of stuff just for free and like get your fucking feet wet and get a resume and get networked, and then you've probably skipped 3 years of at least school. Maybe you
But
need to
like,
go back for one of technical shit, but
but also like back in the day, people just like did shit. They learned shit. They did
by doing it,
something,
yeah.
and then they found out that they liked doing something by doing it, or that they didn't like something by doing it. Like the fact that people are expected to go to school before even fucking doing these things as a job or learning. Like I I wish I hadn't gone to school because it's just a big waste of money for me. But it's
Yeah, but
like
so
I
like how
wish I
much that
could
even
have.
cost you though? Like you were talking like how many semesters? Like 4 semesters did you do?
Yeah, I think it was like 20,000.
Yeah, but see, like you're not even using it, right?
Not even a little bit.
But
And
this
it's
is the
like,
thing, man. You got debt left, right, and center before you even start, and then Lord forbid, or whoever the fuck, if you want to get married, that's even worse. Like, unless you can somehow have the wedding paid for, you're fucking screwed. Because like you just start everything in life you start with. They're like, here, man. Here's this big debt chain. Try to float. And you're like, sweet, I'll get ahead eventually. And then sometimes you end up like in your 60s, like we know people who are in their 60s, no retirement funds, like your house isn't paid for, and you're staring down the barrel of working for the rest of your life until you die. And you're like, what was the point? What like do I like hopefully you're lucky and you actually enjoyed everything you did at your job.
mm-hmm.
But like 99.9% of people are not going to be in that bracket where they were just like, I would have done this for free. Like I don't think many people do that. Unless it was like, but I mean everything at some point becomes a job. Like it's hard to like you if you have to do something for money and you have to be there, that's a job. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah,
The second you have to do it in order to live, that's a job.
which is the majority of people.
But man, it's like pursuing a passion is a it's definitely challenging because like what your passion is not someone else's, and like your value of your own shit is not someone else's. And like I think everybody runs into that no matter where they are. They're like, well, I think my time is worth this. But like if you're just like kind of dealing on an individual basis with direct to consumer and no one's like paying you for your time up front, everything's a barter, everything is a negotiation. Like I mean that's kind of the arts in a nutshell, but like is that I mean what was the reason why you did not continue to pursue it?
Like the graphic school.
Yeah.
Partly because I hate school.
No way.
Yeah. Secondly, I mean, like when I got out, I just had to get a job, and there wasn't a lot in the space I was in. And they kind of fucked me over with like not telling me I didn't have enough um, credits or whatever, or classes. I don't even know what it's called. By the
Yeah,
end
they
of
don't
like
tell you that shit.
by the end of the last semester, they're like, "Oh, you don't have enough to like actually graduate." And I'm like, "Okay, well, why wasn't that like made known to
What?
me before? Like when I signed up for everything, didn't make any sense." So I was kind of like, "Well, fuck you guys." And I hate school. I don't like like I like being active. I like doing stuff. Like I could not. I don't think I could sit at a desk all day and work. Like I just don't think I could do that. I mean, I probably do have a little bit of ADD. At least that's what Liddy keeps telling me. Hence why I'm trying the lion's mane thing because it's kind of supposed to help a little bit with that. Um,
Is
and
that working as advertised or what?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's like a placebo thing right now. I've only like had it for like a few days, so it's I don't know if it like takes a few days to really like get an effect or anything like that. Um, I'd feel like there's a little bit of something. I mean, I would imagine it'd probably be more effective if I did have better sleep. But generally, I'm up until like midnight, and then Jensen gets me up like around. Well, he's been sleeping a little bit recently. I'm hoping that's a new thing. If he can get up like 6:30, that's like premium. But usually it's like 5:30. So wasn't getting a ton of sleep. So I'd imagine if I like had better sleep when I was using that, it'd probably be more effective. But I don't know. Like I could not sit at a computer all day, and it just didn't even like the concept of all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's my problem. My problem is there's so many things that I like to do. Like I got tons of things that I enjoy doing. I like doing. I'm pretty decent at. I'm just good at too many things. Like I'm just decently adequate.
Wow, what a
Well,
problem.
no, I'm just like
I'm
decently
just good at
adequate.
so many things.
I'm decently adequate at so many things, and I like doing so many different things that it's not like my focus is pretty split. Which I don't know if that again that's an ADD thing of just like being able to like do a bunch of different things, which sometimes sucks because you're just all over the place doing this, that, and then you're changing to do this and changing to do that. Like, you know, but it also lets me do my job better because I can paint, I can drywall, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do like pretty much everything. But it's also sucks because then you're just doing too many things instead of like focusing on doing one thing really, really, really well and then getting busy at just doing the one thing and then you can just like set up to do that one thing and like okay, well, I'm just going to do kitchen cabinets. That's all I'm going to do is install kitchen cabinets. I need my drill, my saw, my this, my that. I need this little bin of things. That's all I need to do this job really, really well. Instead of like, oh, I can do
Oh,
kitchen cabinets. I can do flooring. I can do the painting. I can do the caulking. I can do some of the plumbing. I can do this. So you're like set up for all these things. And if you're trying to do too much, sometimes it's just overwhelming and it's like, I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse. Like the landscaping thing I'm doing now, it's like I don't do a ton of that. I can do it, but it's also like I'm not completely set up for it to do it, so it's not as efficient as if I was just doing landscaping.
make sure you get that peeled down to the clay.
Sorry, you
For
chopped off there. What?
any hardscaping, you got to get that down to the clay. Okay, you can't cough when there's a mic, dude. You gotta mute that. You gotta mute that. Do you have a
Really?
mute button on it?
No.
Yes, you do.
I
What's the
mean, you
little
have a
knob
mute
on the
button.
bottom?
It's not a mute button.
What is it?
I have to like twist it.
You can't push it in.
No, it's like a twist.
What's the other button on the bottom?
It's just like my output volume. So it's like what's coming through here.
Oh, your feeds into your mic. Okay, that's weird. But you gotta, yeah, you can't cough like that into it. No, that's way too loud, and the recording sucks when you do that. Not that anybody's watching this, but they might one day, and then you're gonna be fucking regretting ever having done that.
Yeah, I don't know. But I was driving that little skid steer thing I had for that, just scraping dirt around and stuff, and that was pretty fun. I was like, man, I should see if I can do operating because that'd be kind of fun.
Everybody wants to do that.
Except not. There's like so many. Lydia said there's like so many people looking for operators that aren't just like cracked out on cocaine.
Well, you're gonna have to set your cocaine down for a couple weeks before you get behind that.
Bummer, dude.
Is that thing like a stand behind?
Yeah.
That's weird. You keep coughing, man. Are you just smoking? Then what are you doing? I thought you said you didn't do crack.
I don't.
Why are you coughing?
Post nasal drip, okay.
I'll Post Malone your nasal drip.
Yeah, post my drip. No, it's a pretty fun little standing thing though, just ripping around, just moving dirt and chucking stuff. And I actually really lucked out because the guy that I kind of know through work, he had a dump trailer and that skid steer thing that he had rented already for the month, and he wasn't using it. And I was just gonna borrow the trailer from him and then rent a skid steer myself. And he was like, "Well, this one I'm not using it, and you feel free to go pick it up and use it." I was like, "Shit." So I grabbed the trailer. The trailer was awesome. Dump trailer, like probably bought within the last year, like almost brand new, like really nice. Dual axle, just
E-brake.
hauled ass.
Somebody, I mean, I guess that thing's light enough that you could tow it with your truck.
Yeah. Well, the truck actually performed really, really well. I was actually really impressed. I think probably the heaviest load I had was like 3,300 pounds.
It's not even that much for a half ton.
It's not a half ton. It's 1,500.
Not a half ton.
It's just a 1,500.
That's a half ton.
Well, I don't know, but it's a
Because like
warlock.
a Tacoma is a quarter ton.
Yeah, but like weight wise on the suspension, like pulling it is no problem. I think the pulling capacity I have on it is like almost 12,000 pounds. But
Yeah, then you're in the chips by like nearly not 10,000 pounds.
yeah, but it's the suspension on the truck though. Like I don't understand how that works.
No, payload is like what's in your truck bed, and like towing capacity is what's on the hitch. And the
It
hitch
doesn't
is
make any
supposed to
sense.
have, yeah, but the weight's distributed over the trailer axles, so it's a different amount of, it's a different action
Well, I know
on the
it's
truck.
different, but I just feel like the difference between like I think I can get like 2,000 pounds in the box, and then like 10,000 more pounds on the hitch. I'm just like,
Well, not on the hitch, on the trailer. The tongue weight's still got to be a certain amount,
yeah,
but the trailer distributes the weight over the tires and the tongue, right?
yeah. Well, is it good?
Learn your fucking trailers, you fuck. Otherwise, you're gonna end up wrapped around a berm, riding up the side of a tree, and
Fuck
knocking
you.
over a bunch of precious coniferous trees and deciduous trees and shrubbery and all these other things that you're gonna drive over and kill like you have done before.
No,
So
no. No,
check
it towed really
yourself
good. It
before
towed
you
really
wreck
good.
yourself.
Towed really good.
Figure it out.
Towed great. The really annoying thing
Or
was
you're gonna get smoked.
no. The really annoying thing is that there's not a ton of places that take dirt, which I find hilarious. Like you can't just like take the dirt and drop it off somewhere. And if you take it to a fucking eco station or like the waste management place, they charge you through the ass for it, which doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. It's just fucking dirt with like a little bit of rock and shit in it. Like it's not clean dirt, but it's just the ground that everywhere is. It's everywhere. It's just dirt.
That's why people just go dump it on a berm somewhere.
Honestly, I considered it because I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. I was trying to get a ton of work done over the weekend because mom and dad were coming out to help, and I was gonna get dad to just drive the truck so that I could keep doing stuff around the site and just have the
Wait,
loads
this
going.
weekend?
This past weekend,
Oh, what? So they helped you landscape?
yeah, on Sunday they came and helped. Dad was just going to drive the truck. Like I just needed someone to drive the truck and the trailer so that I could keep doing stuff there instead of like stopping everything, go drive, and then drop back. But of course, nowhere is open on the weekend except for the waste management thing. And the first load I took was just like some garbage and shit. That was only like $30 some. And then like the second load was a bunch of. They had a garden bed in the back. that was
Enough
railway.
with the coffee in the mic.
That was railway ties, old like big railway ties. And so those had to cut those all up, chuck those in the trailer. That's what that was like the 300 pounds or so, and took that, and that was like $110. And then today I did it. I took the day off from doing the insurance stuff so I could go and spend a day and actually like have something going to take it. Because there was a place just like 15 minutes away from the site that would take it, and the mic's like right in your face, you idiot.
Coming from you, that's rich.
The mic's to the side of my face.
No. It's
Yes,
in
it
front of your
is.
face half the time.
No,
How about you
it's
just
not.
finish your story before
This is
I.
in front of my face.
How about you finish your story before I come over there?
Anyways, so today I took the day off so I could take it to somewhere that's open. It was only like 15 minutes from the site, whereas the place I had to go on Sunday was like 30 minutes one way. So it was like literally over an hour just to do one fucking load. And it was more expensive. And luckily I didn't take any dirt because they were like, yeah, we don't really take dirt. And if we do, it's like really expensive. And I'm like, why does it cost so much more? But if I go to this other place that was closer and was open on the weekend, I just did it today. It was only $35 a load, a trailer, like a flat rate for the trailer. They didn't weigh anything. It was just like, here's the load, back it up, dump it on this like, general mixed dirt area, and $35 a pop. That was it.
Yeah, well, loose fill.
Yeah, but like, why are these other places so expensive for it? It's just dirt.
Because they're just discouraging. They don't want to process it, so they're like they can, but they don't want to, so they're going to change the price.
It's just so stupid. It's a real pain in the ass because I didn't get as much done as I wanted to on the weekend, even though I had everything set up for it. But them's the breaks.
It's wild
Anyways,
times, man.
this is like really kind of a depressing episode.
Aren't they all depressing? I mean, we're
So
just
what was our other
literally
things we
shooting
were
the
going to talk
shit.
about? We were going to talk about something else.
Well, RFK is like weighing in on his complete sidelining of the Democrat machine, and then
You destroyed
somehow,
them, man.
well, it's funny. I mean, like, I'm like, why is it that? I mean, this is nothing against RFK because I know he has like an issue with his throat or whatever the fuck. I'm like, why can no one in politics talk? Like Trump is like making words up, and he's like he repeats and has like very weird vernacular.
But he still
Kamala's on
single-handedly boasts
cocaine.
like Kamala is every time I hear her voice and her cadence is so infuriating. Like
You think you fell out of a coconut tree? You
she's
within the context that you are in. And she gets like super serious at the end. Like she's like, I was making a joke and I'm talking all black
that's
vernacular and
pretty good
shit.
actually. That's pretty good.
And then she's like, and then I get real serious and I say, hey,
But
man.
she's like scary though. Like she just like it's like she's literally like raging. Like she's coke raging.
Yeah, I mean, she's on something. Like she probably got
She's
into
on something.
Biden's supply of uppers or whatever the fuck.
Probably she has to. I don't know. Did you see that?
Benzodiazepine.
I saw this like video going around. I don't know how old it is, if it's a recent thing, but she was talking about how she was the one that pushed through transgender inmates being able to get like affirming care in prison, and she was like
Which just
super proud of
means
that.
which
I'm
means the
like,
dudes can go to the old lady prison. Is that what that? It's affirmative
no,
care.
no, like getting their shit taken care of. And I'm like, how is this something that you're like proud of?
People are always like
Also, they're
politicians.
inmates. They lost their rights because they're in jail.
No, they didn't lose all their rights now, dude.
It's so weird, man.
But the thing is, like, they're all very proud of how they spend other people's money. I'd be like, hey, all right, every dollar, every let's even be generous here. Every $100 million that you spend in the public, you have to pay 100 or even 1,000. I'd be like, they pretty like, so say you're whatever, you make like 600 grand a year as a top dog politician. I bet you they'd be a lot more conservative with their spending. Like, oh, this is fractionally going to impact my income. But then, I mean, I don't know. They have lobbyists and all this stuff to cover for them, anyways, and Gucci jobs they can step into right after they're done. There's just, I don't know. I mean, the funny thing is, and this is like, Julia had no idea who RFK Jr. was. Like, I was like,
What?
have you heard of this guy? No, because she's like kind of like your traditional listens to the main news, right? Like, the news does not talk about him ever. Like, the first time I
Not
even
at
knew
all.
who he was like when he talked to Joe Rogan, and I was like, he has some pretty obviously very, and even like most news outlets introduce him as the controversial RFK Jr.
Which, like, he's not really that controversial.
Well, he has some pretty like controversial takes on vaccinations for children, but like he's also kind of like, I
Yeah,
think
but
he's one
to
of the
not
people
get
that,
it?
well, he's just like, I think we need to look into what's actually going in, and like he's basically, and like he does what I do, and maybe I'm probably wrong on some things, but like I look for correlations with stuff, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. I think it's like, the problem is when you come to conclusions that are potentially false. And this is the thing, like I think he is genuinely a person who cares. Like he sees like these issues in kids and
He wants to
health.
get to the bottom of it. Like, he doesn't want to just take
Yeah,
something at face value.
and he might not be going the traditional route. Like, he's not afraid to be like, well, fuck it, like maybe there is some crazy hormonal impacts from the stuff that we're eating, or the stuff in our environment, or the stuff in our medications. Because like, if everyone's like, no, everything's fine, we're all fine. It's like the Adam Ray when he's like, we're fine then, we're fine now, we're doing great. You're the sucker.
You're the
Like
sucker.
yeah, like literally just like Joe Biden's like his mantra is,
Everything's fine.
it's all good, man. Like you're the fucking nutso.
Yeah.
like
Oh
instead of
man.
addressing any kind of legitimate concern, or even like taking a bit of it the long way home, so to speak, and like saying like, hey, like maybe not everything that is just like supposed to be good is actually 100% good, and maybe not everything that's 100% bad is actually 100% bad. Like, you got
Yeah.
to be open to new information, and I think he's
Yeah,
one
but
of those
like I
people that
feel like
is.
it's a classic thing of like, if you are being persecuted or told to shut up by like the machine, whatever you want to,
Yeah, you got something to say.
generally,
You got
yeah,
something to say.
generally you are picking around somewhere that the people who are making a ton of money don't want you picking around, right? Like, that's a very classic thing. And the reason why, like, say what you want about Trump, say what you want about, like, you know, all that kind of stuff, but like at the end of the day, they don't want him in there because he's not getting told what to do. And the same thing with like RFK, like, he's not a pawn. He's not some thoughtless moron like Biden or Harris, who are just going to go along with whatever the party wants because they're happy with being the mouthpiece and happy with just taking that on, but they don't actually know anything. They're not actually intelligent people. Like, I have never heard Kamala Harris say anything that makes any sense. I mean, I haven't heard a ton of her stuff, but every time I see anything, it's like, what are you saying? And like the way she's saying it is purely, it's almost like a comedic act. Like, if you look at like Dr. Phil, Adam Ray,
Yeah, he's so funny.
that is like the parody that Kamala Harris is doing of a politician. Like, it almost seems like she's in a show.
Yeah, she is like from California. Like, or at least that's where her political career is. She actually grew up in
It's
Quebec or
so weird.
something, I think.
Because like, you actually listen to like RFK and even like some of the stuff I've heard Trump talk about, it seems like they actually do give a shit about the general person. I mean, yeah, Trump likes to make money too, and he's in all that kind of stuff. But he already made his money outside of politics. Like, he doesn't need the politics to make him money. He's not in it I mean, it's easy to say he's not in it for the money. I'm sure there's stuff that he likes of it, the power, whatever you want to call it.
Well,
But
he gets off on being like narcissistic and
yeah,
winning.
but at the end of the day, like he's not doing it for the money.
Well,
And when you
he
have somebody who is doing
less
it
he's less
for,
doing it.
when you have someone who is doing it for the money, you're gonna get the wrong person, i.e., Kamala Harris, who I don't think she's doing it for any other reason than to be, I don't know, in the spotlight. But
But even then, man, his speech like lambasted that. He was just like, the Democratic Party was so afraid of outside participation in their primaries. They proposed this geriatric, mentally decaying old man into the last second. And Julie actually had some interesting insights. She's like, I wonder, like, do you think they actually did that so that when they put Kamala in, that it made more sense that
writers of
she
the bill
had to
did.
be? Well, or just like that there was no other option because there wasn't enough time. Like if they keep riding the Biden train all the
Yeah.
way to the end of the line, then it doesn't matter because they're like, well, we had to put Kamala in because there was no other choice, even though that was probably the plan all along.
Oh, I'm sure. Like when you start like learning more about like the deep state and stuff, it's like, I mean, there's obviously shady shit. Like, there's no way around that for sure. Like, there
Well,
is
it's
some
corruption left,
inside
right, and
shady
center.
corruption shit. 100%. And again, that's a reason why they don't like the guys like RFK and like Trump, and they'll do anything to just make it go away. You know, with the media, with the this, with the that, like without whatever they're doing and whatever they're not doing. You
Yeah,
know,
they're poking the bear. Like I think
Trump
RFK
got
is
Trump
poking the
almost
bear
got
more.
shot and murdered, and that news story was like a week maybe.
But like that one is always like, holy shit. Like, am I like, do I actually think that it's beyond them to potentially have like orchestrated this stuff, like
Oh,
the
not at
deep
all.
state? I would have to say like, but like you still sound like a nut
Well,
job even coming up to that. You're just like, and everyone's like, well, yeah, where's your proof, man? Where's your fucking proof? What do you mean? And like you're like, well, it's just like where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not saying that like, hey, this is exactly what happened, but it's also like, uh, this seems to align with some special interests that have some
and
pretty
it's
overt
just like
intentions of not having.
all the stuff that came out after, when which was hardly anything. Like who even, what even, who
Oh,
knows
they've
anything
dusted
about
that
this guy?
investigation. They just shoved that on the shelf.
There's like nothing about the family. There's nothing about the background. There's like little tidbits here and there. Something about how they didn't have any silverware, which like what? Like I don't even know what that means. The whole Secret Service debacle, the lack of investigation, the lack of this.
The
There's
fact
just,
that that roof wasn't covered is like, I think, the smoking gun. You're just like, there's
but it's not
absolutely
even
no
that. It's the
reason,
fact that they knew about this guy
or that he was only
an
there when the guy
hour
goes pee.
before.
Like the guy's like, I gotta take a leak, and then he gets up on the roof.
There was a
Come on.
bunch of people around there that saw him, like, and police and cops, like they knew he was up there.
Well, did you see the video? I mean, this is obviously like the cop that's running like left, then right, then left, like, and then all like it was like for a good 30 seconds, like, no, he's right there, and the
You're like,
cops like,
what? What?
then before there's even shots, they're like, get away, he's got a
Yeah,
gun, and then like 10 seconds later, there's shots.
yeah,
It's like they're like they were basically just doing crowd control
yeah,
instead of actually addressing the threat, and even then, this is the crazier thing is that like no one got Trump off the stage.
yeah.
Like they knew this for a long period of time. How does he still remain standing on the stage? For one thing,
Even if
like,
there's like a remote suspicion,
yeah, like somebody sneezes too loud, they're probably getting like a retinal
the guy
fucking.
had a rangefinder. Like,
So
that's not
yeah, like
normal.
like you're telling me you knew where Saddam Hussein was? You flew your little Black Hawk helicopters in there and smoked like 50 dudes just to turn
Yeah,
Saddam Hussein out,
yeah,
and you don't even know what's on the roof like 100 feet away? Like, come on now.
yeah. No,
And like return,
that
like,
whole
don't
thing
fire
is
until you see the whites of their eyes.
like the whole thing is just ridiculous. And like back to the RFK thing,
It's
his whole
fake, man.
speech was actually quite well said. And like, yeah, his voice is a little bit hard to get through sometimes, but I think he did really well for his whole, like, because I pretty much listened to like the whole speech.
He's
Tears the
coherent though. Like it's weird. He like
well,
actually has
it's very,
thoughts that chain together.
and it doesn't even seem like he's reading off of anything. It doesn't. I'm sure he has some notes and stuff, but it seemed very just like, look, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I feel. I don't care if it makes this look bad. I don't care if it makes my choice 3 weeks
Yeah,
ago look bad, but this is what I'm feeling right now because of what I've come against right now. Like the whole signatures things that they had to get him to do, the
yeah, they kept
whole,
raising the bar.
oh man, which is, and how he painted that picture of just like, this has literally never been done before. They made it ridiculously hard. They didn't want me at all. I've been a Democrat literally my entire life. I have a major family name, a
Yeah, like
Kennedy.
he would have been the absolute, like if his, so this is the thing, like yeah, he had everything they politically wanted except compliance and
Exactly.
ideology, right?
Like
And
he
so I'm
has
like,
the
wait a second,
knowledge.
maybe he has good ideas then. Like,
He does. And he's done so much good outside of like any kind of politics. He didn't do a whole lot of politics. It was mostly like because he was a lawyer, right? He did all
yeah,
like the cleanup stuff. He did all like he has done a ton of good, and he got a lot of that off of like the podcasts and stuff he's done. But he's done so much good,
he
and
does. The only problem I do have with him is that he does kind of talk about some stuff that's as if it's fact, but this is the thing, like we measure people who are reasonable with more reason. You hear Kamala and Trump and like and Biden, literally they all get fact checked up the wazoo, but people are just like, oh, that's just them. They aren't actually trying to make sense. They aren't trying to tell the truth. But like RFK probably gets way more scrutiny because this guy actually is trying to tell the truth. So
yep.
like obviously it's a lot more like scrupulous to look at his facts as facts because everything else everyone says you're like, I don't even know what the fuck they're saying, like that doesn't mean anything.
But also the whole thing of like, oh, you want someone to be truthful and stuff. Like, truth nowadays is so fucking subjective. What is true now? Like, there is no thing that is actually true because now it's, well, I can say that I'm sitting at a desk doing this, and some bozo over here who thinks he's a cat can say like, oh no, that's a litter box. Like there is no coherent line anymore for what's actually fact and what's actually fiction. Like that whole thing has been blown up by the fucking crazy people who think
Well, they're getting us canceled for
crazy
sure.
shit. Well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But there is no truth.
I think
And so,
everyone has a problem with this because I'm
yeah, but
like,
you do. You think that there's truth because you have things that you believe to be true, but you'll talk to mom about what you think is accurate and true, and mom won't believe it
but that's the thing is like I
because
don't
she
think
thinks something else is true.
I think that people confuse belief and truth together because like I don't even think that there probably are absolutes out there that are just fundamentally correct, but at the end of the day,
Yeah, people will argue.
but I think our ideas
I don't know if
about
it's
them,
round. No, it's flat.
but we should all be like, truth is the best explanation we have as of now, and that's what the truth is. The truth is not immutable. Like it can change. It just depends on the new information. Maybe that was a good idea. Maybe like maybe our understanding of black holes or whatever, like all this space shit that we're trying to figure out now, is changeable. And the best part about the truth of it is that it can change when new information says, hey, this is what's now better understood. But you should be trying to understand things based on repeatable, observable, measurable inputs.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that when RFK says things that you had just said that he doesn't, he says things as if they are true. What I'm saying is at that time, and I think from what I've heard of him, if he is wrong about something that he thought was true before, he will say it.
Well, I think Daniel Smith actually does that too. Like she's like obviously very opinionated, but I've seen her actually like apologize and reverse course on a couple things.
Because no one's going to get it right all the time, and if you are talking to people in a form of a position of some kind of power or authority, sometimes you're going to get things wrong, or someone's going to tell you something that you thought was accurate. Maybe someone gave you a number wrong. Maybe you researched something wrong. Maybe something was right and then it got changed to something. So you have to be able to be like, I'm changing it. Like how, he wanted to be a Democrat. He was a Democrat his entire life. He was trying to do that, trying to do this, trying to do that. And then, it got to a point where he had to basically say, I can't be a Democrat anymore. What I thought was what the Democrats stood for is no longer. So what I thought was true about the Democrats is now false.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it seems flippy floppy, but it's like no, because
But I'd
sometimes
rather that, right? Like, I'd way
exactly.
rather write an openness to new information. Your politicians should be able to change course. Like, hey, we were going to send the nukes over to Russia because it looks like they were firing nukes. I don't want somebody who's just be like, "Oh, we already launched them, so I guess that's the way it is." Like, we're
Yeah,
like they got to be like, "Oh, that was actually just a fireworks show over Moscow or something." Like if new information comes up, you have to change your actions. Like you, and
yeah,
this is what like intelligent human beings should be doing all the time. Is like, hey, if I'm doing something that doesn't work, like obviously our biology and everything gives us biases and like weaknesses to certain things, but like at the end of the day, you should be trying to craft your interactions with the world and other people in such a way that like, hey, that's a good point or something like that. Like obtain that new view or new information.
yeah.
I don't know,
Which
man.
is what people like. You know, they like someone who can actually say like, I was wrong. But I mean,
Well, maybe
even
we should do like a whole talk next time on like I think the whole interesting aspect of like obviously America is going to be doing this in November, but realistically, like Canada will be doing it soon too. Hopefully sooner than later. But like apparently Jugmeat might put his foot down. Yeah, right.
into what?
Well, like he was saying that this is a non-negotiable. We don't care about our supply and confidence deal with the Liberals, aka coalition. Um, when they like force everyone at CN Rail to go back to work, like the government was like, "Nope, you're not striking. Back to work." So if the government has the ability to do that, then what's the point of a union? What's the point of union rights? What's the point of worker rights? What's if it, like that? I agree with that. Like,
I haven't looked into that whole thing very much.
well, you should look at that. We should look at RFK. We should look at how that's like allegedly going to factor into what Trump's platform looks like, and then
Well, if it's anything like the pop that he got when he announced him on stage, that crowd went fucking nuts.
yeah, it's crazy. I thought I was like, oh shit, like Trump's act like his ego is going to get a little bit annoyed here. That
That's what I
like
thought too. I was like, no, Trump has to stand off to the side, and I think he actually handled it incredibly well because I think he knows it's good for him.
to
Like
be
he
that
wouldn't have he
guy.
wouldn't have
Yeah.
like tied up with him if he didn't know that could be a possibility. And I don't think there's any threat of like him being the guy and not Trump.
Well, Trump represents like the
The
MAGA, right?
Republicans.
Yeah. Well, not even the Republicans. Like he just has Trumpies. Like he has people that are ride or die Trump, right? Like they don't
Well, and
care.
I think a lot of people who were Trump people liked a lot of what RFK was saying. They just didn't like that he wanted to be a Democrat, and now that he's not,
I think he
I
wanted to be a patriot and he saw the best way
yeah,
forward to American exceptionalism or American idealism. And this is the thing that we've lost. Like the idealism has been gone even with Trump and with Biden. Like they both kind of are just like their brand of America is very different, but it's not about like having the moral high ground. It's not about doing things the right way because it's the right way or like the best way because it's the best way for the
mm-hmm.
most people. It was all about ego. It was about presenting a certain face, being strong, being competent, or literally, if you're the Democrats, it's this corrupt, censor-ridden, power-hungry, warmongering. Like a lot of the stuff that they're doing is insane levels of like that stuff. When you like, I can't remember where it was, but like it was on Netflix. You could watch like some of JFK's old speeches. Like the guy was, and like he like just inspired people. Like you almost
Yeah,
like feel that charisma in the things that he's saying. Like and some most U.S. American presidents um, actually had that vibe. But now it's all just like culture wars, ideological divides, agendas, like all these other things, and like that's what people are used to now. But like I feel like when RFK was like talking about stuff, I was like, there was that hint of idealism.
mm-hmm.
Like it was just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like virtuous, not virtuous, but like the guy was actually passionate about it for the sake of the idea, not because it made him look good. You
Well, and
know?
it was refreshing, and like it's a guy who's looking at all the data again, data points, He's looking at all the data and he is seeing a trend that is scary. Like, especially in the States, there's like kids with diabetes. And if you look before a certain time, kids didn't have diabetes. Like, when I see a fat kid, I'm like, how are you fat? We don't even like, we don't baby Jensen with his food or Sky with their food, and they eat pretty good at daycare. But I'm like, they're so active that they could never be fat. I'm like,
Yeah,
how is this a thing that's happening now? You know, you see like a 5, 7, 8 year old kid who's just like overweight, and I'm like, what the fuck?
but that's the thing, man. It's just like we're life is like a toxic leaching scenario in a lot of ways. Like the stuff that's cheap and accessible is cheap and is like people are drawn to that because their jobs don't pay them enough. And even the people who do get paid enough, like man, I'm paying like insane proportions of taxes, and I'm like I'm not even sure that like I'm like whining when I say that for sure, but like I'm like man, I could really like all of my debt would be gone if I just got paid what I got paid.
Yeah.
Even for one fucking year, I could handle everything. But
Mm-hmm.
the more you make, the more debt you take on, the more you're taxed, and like essentially everything you do to move up until you hit that launch pad point of like hundreds of thousands, and then you're gone because you've now created like assets and other things that are not tied to your time. But anything you ever do that's tied to your time is
Mm-hmm.
is never going to really make you escape that because you increase your expenditures with relative to your income, and taxes for people who have a high income is like 50% in this goddamn country. Like it's insane. So it's like the more you earn, the more you pay, the less you get, and the more you need,
It's
and the
all
less you have
fucked
to
up,
pay for
man.
it. But I mean, we can talk
And the
about it
more
next
they
time.
send off seas, and the more they send to this, and the more they send to this, and
Yeah, it's like they're spending billions of dollars, and our country does it too, to go kill people, like to kill Russians through the Ukrainians while having them die as well. And
mm-hmm.
meanwhile, you know, poor people and people are just barely getting by. We're bringing in workers to do jobs that Canadians don't have access to because the companies are like, whoa. And this is like an interesting thing is like they're always saying like, well, there's like there's no domestic demand for these jobs, but they always forget to say, and this is a funny enough, the CBC podcast I was listening to said this, that oh, there's no one looking for these jobs at this price because you're not paying a competitive wage. So we worry about protecting our democracy and our capitalist economy. People come across the world to live here, but it's operating under principles that do not accept capitalist principles. If your
Yeah.
wage is not in line with what the work deserves, then yes, of course, you don't have anyone looking for it. You have to raise wages. But if you raise prices, then everyone has to pay more. Yeah, but they have more money in their pockets, you dumbass, because you pay them more. Fuck
Yeah.
off. Like this is a one-sided argument. They take the negative aspect of paying people more and apply it to everything without realizing that if people got paid more, they could afford more. Like,
Well, and they can
are we
spend it on
actually that
things that they
fucking
want to
stupid?
spend it on, not stuff that they have to spend it on.
But they don't want that, man. They just want to like so essentially the suppressed wages keeps the business owner richer because their margins are great and their shareholders are happy. But
Yeah.
even then, like who's buying all these products without taking on debt because their job doesn't pay them enough? And then oh, by the way, the job that doesn't pay you enough, you're also taxed insanely high on. And are you getting anything for that? Maybe. But
Well,
even
and you're
then, like
taxed on
most
the things you buy. You're taxed on the things you this, that, like.
well, and even then, like what we were saying, like the most of the government run projects run way over budget and cost way too much for what you're actually getting. That's
Mm-hmm.
no different in education and healthcare. Like I know people in healthcare, obviously, and like the stuff that like that can be billed for, and even then, like they kind of deserve it because they've worked their ass off to get to that point, and it is very grueling for a long period of time. But that's just one aspect of what a hospital or a health organization spends on. There's all the bureaucrats, there's all the administration, there's all the overhead, there's all the waste, there's all the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like all this stuff adds up, and guess who's paying for it? Your taxes. and then you're still paying for Ukrainians to go fight a war you don't care about that should have been over a long time ago and is only really there because of NATO exceptionalism and like NATO expansion.
It's only there because they're getting money sent to them, and there's certain people making money. It's all money. Like that's all it is.
But like, would Putin really just like, hey man, you can have this land, don't go any further? Do we think that he would just be like, okay? Like, I honestly would be like, I think he would actually. Like, I don't think he is like Hitler. Like, I don't think he's like who got Poland and just kept going.
Yeah.
Like, if you actually
Well, no, I think
negotiated,
if
would
NATO
he honor
hadn't
it?
fucking like moved to bring Ukraine in when they said they wouldn't, and did all that stuff that they said they wouldn't do, and they brought like what was it, they brought arms closer to the border, like they did a bunch of shit that basically set it up to happen. I mean, you don't even have to look too hard to see that it was done intentionally. Like
Well, that's
right
what I mean.
down
It
to
was.
Zelensky being the prime minister, right
He was
down
installed.
to
He was installed.
oh, 100%. Like and again, you don't even have to look for this. Like it's surface level shit. This whole thing is a farce to
It's not
peddle
even smoke
money.
and mirrors. Like, it's out in the open.
It's all just a farce. It's all a ruse to peddle money, to embezzle money,
Well,
to
they
wash
did because
money.
remember, like, so the Sam Bankman-Fried who basically laundered, I forget what the name of the Bitcoin or the crypto company was, right? But like, he had
Was that Ethereum?
no, and Ethereum is like a type of crypto coin, but he was like an exchange. Um, I can't remember what it was called because obviously, like, they got into trouble because they basically didn't have any money. They lost it all. But then, like, he was one of the top contributors to the Democratic Party. I think we've talked about this before, but like, essentially all of the money that he got from pumping and dumping crypto, he would put into like these companies in Ukraine, who would then donate back to the DNC.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, even
or
right
no,
down to
no,
like Hunter Biden. Like the
no, no.
entire
Actually, it was the other
thing.
way. The money that Democrats sent to the Ukraine entity would then invest in Sam Bankman-Fried's company, and then he would donate. Sorry, is the wrong way? That's the other way. He would donate
But
to
it's
the
just an
DNC.
entire wash cycle is all it is.
Yeah, he's rinsing public funds to go back into a political campaign, and
Yeah.
because I don't think there's that crazy amount of limit on how much you can spend on a political party, like
Well,
it
that's
was
another
just
thing with
washed.
RFK that's like refreshing is the industrial complex. He totally understands. Or
He's
not to
gonna get
put
himself killed. Like, honestly,
Can you
enough with the
imagine how
coffee in the
mad
mic.
that would be?
But it's the good ones that get shot. It's the people who are going to disrupt the status quo.
That's what I mean. Like you're not getting shot at if you're not pushing buttons of the people who are sitting pretty and they like where they are and they don't care what they're doing or who they're hurting. That's who's gonna kill you.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't think Trump's a good guy. I just think that
I think
he
he's
isn't playing
better.
ball. I don't think he's playing ball is the main thing.
No.
Like,
And that is better than a fucking piece of shit
yeah,
that's literally just gonna take orders from the guy who's been behind the scenes running everything, right down to what's that World Economic Forum piece of shit. Like,
Schwab.
yeah, like there is,
Ass Schwab.
there's so many videos and movies and stuff like that about conspiracy type things like that, and it's beginning to look more and more like that. Those aren't really like conspiracies anymore. Like this is how the world works.
Well, and that's what Dan Carlin's famous thing that he was saying, or like George Carlin, sorry. He was always like, of course it's a cabal, of course, like it's not. Um, it doesn't have to be overt. It's not like a bunch of people meeting in a room. It's just mutually aligned interests, and they all have like the smaller any group is, the more it gets along with each other. Like, the easier it is to kind of create mutually beneficial systems, and like that's what representative democracy kind of, yeah, at its root, or like at least republics, will end up doing, is because you are creating an elite class that gets to know each other, and they all have influence over different aspects of the economy in the country and different levels of power, and they don't. they don't speak on a day to day with the actual citizen. They speak on a day to day with the lobbyists or other counterparts in the rest of the government. So it is an elitist class. It's a Laurentian class that only like, and this is the thing about humans is they're always going to do things that are in their own best interest, and like it's sold to people as if they are representing your interests, but they aren't. And how could they? They don't
I
even
don't
know what
think
they are.
I don't think there's anything really that just happens.
No.
Like, oops, this just happened. Like even right down to like COVID.
Oh,
I
here we
don't think
go.
that was I don't think that was an accident.
What do you think it was?
I think it was a systematic way to number one see how people would react, somewhat population control, and I don't know. Like I honestly don't think I've ever felt normal since getting the vaccine.
Well, I it's two factors because it's interesting because like in all reality, I think it actually was a lab leak, and like I don't care what they say, and this is probably going to get whatever, but like, I don't even think.
Demonetized.
Well, yeah. Oh no, zero of nothing.
Oh
Fuck.
no, shit.
But it's just like it's too. Again, it's like the smoke. If I see smoke, I think fires there. Like, oh, it was in this like that exact same place where they studied this exact same thing that this first exactly came out. Like, you got to be kidding me. That is too much of a coincidence. The
That
whole
news story
vaccine
just died
thing,
too.
the vaccine thing is a whole another question, and
I
that's
don't like it.
neither do I. Obviously,
I
I think I made
honestly, I only got
myself
the
very
first
clearly known.
vaccine and then a booster, and I honestly feel like from that point, as much as I can like remember, it feels like I just have never felt the same. Whether it be, I know almost for a fact that it did something to my heart, like with that whole myocarditis thing. Like I know it almost did something like that. I was never like exerting myself a ton to really like have the major adverse side effects before it like kind of dissipated because it was kind of a thing that would kind of like go away. But it was definitely like a period of time where like if I was exerting myself, my heart would definitely race more than normal. Like, and it was after the vaccine for sure. And I don't know, like there's just it I can't really put my finger on it, but there was definitely like a shift, and that's kind of the only like common thing and kind of defining timeline. Plus, like, how many people now do you know that have cancer?
Yeah, and it's hard to tell because like that can be so multifactorial, and like maybe it's just
But
like I'm
like the
kind of there
numbers
with you
don't
in
make
thinking
sense
that.
though.
I know, and I get that. Like I'm trying to be because I have the same thoughts, but I'm trying to be like cautious about like attributing something that has so many different factors. But like at the end of the
But when there's a
day,
correlation to a specific time that was so specific for the entire Earth,
yeah, like how often is something like so generally and widely applied? Never, ever before.
well, and it's
Like,
like
have we
I
ever done
knew
anything remotely close to that at that scale? No.
no, like, and before the pandemic, I think I knew
Well, you got to turn
like
your mic so that it actually like points towards your mouth, like it has a directional.
I know it's here.
Yeah, because you
I
sound
knew
way better there.
I knew like three people with cancer, like specifically like me myself. I knew like obviously like I heard of other people getting it, but like I knew of I think three people before, and now it seems like everybody's fucking getting it, and I'm like, well, there was a big thing that happened probably around roughly the time it would take for a lot of these things to either show like obviously it's not going to be like instantaneous, and we're kind of at a point now where I feel like the graph has gone up. What year one, year two, and then it gets to this point, and it's like, oh, now everybody's like noticing something. They're getting scanned for it, they're noticing it, they're getting this, and when another thing that contributes to like me thinking that it caused a lot more shit than it actually helped was
Oh,
like
I already think that.
Well,
I don't
I mean,
know. It's
you can almost confirm that it caused more harm than good. Because I mean, you look at Jensen and Sky; they didn't get any vaccines whatsoever for it. As far as I know, they've never fucking had COVID once, and they've been in daycare. They've been,
oh, they've been exposed to it then, like,
but like again,
but
they're
it
fine.
was a nothing burger for most people, like, and that's
Yeah,
why I was like, it's insanity to have healthy people take a vaccine for something that doesn't
yeah.
matter.
But another point with just like the whole thing of it being horrible, aside from like my own personal experience, well, still personal experience, but not like whatever. Like when Lydia had her miscarriage, it was not long after getting the vaccine, and
Yeah, temporal correlation is the most accurate correlation, so that does make sense.
so it's like, and that
Well, the
wasn't
weird
like an
part was
isolated
that, like,
incident.
well, and like you guys have been doing checkups and everything was fine up to that point. I mean, miscarriages do happen, but like that's a
Yeah,
little odd, right?
but like they had no reason to think, and they didn't even have like any explanation whatsoever of what happened. It kind of just like, we had an ultrasound before, everything looked fine. There wasn't anything that looked abnormal. The first pregnancy went great. Jensen was super healthy, super good. Like everything was great. And then, like, it was not long after getting the vaccine. And
But the way that this gets, like, if the thing is, people need to be interested in weeding this out, because at the end of the day, like, if that happens to you, then that's a coincidence. If it happens to 100, 200,000, 300,000 people, like within, women who are pregnant within months of getting it had miscarriages at a rate of 50% or something like that. I don't know, like anything even statistically significant.
yeah,
The problem with all of this is I don't think there was even a study done or interest. It
no.
was like, because there was no funding for that, and you'd probably get like literally
Well,
murdered
why
if
would
you came
they?
out with findings.
Yeah, they're not going to investigate shit that makes it look bad,
That's the
especially
thing,
at this
man.
point. Like, and they're not going to investigate. Like, I don't think there will ever be an
Well, Trump might.
official.
Trump
Maybe
might.
I hope so. Like that would be awesome because I don't think there will ever be, unless something like that happens, an official look. We're a few years away from like the vaccine, the boosters, and shit. There's a clear defining line between before COVID, everybody who was like healthy, had no signs of cancer, no signs of miscarriage, no signs of general this or that, myocarditis or the heart thing, and then after, if you start seeing all these variance points going off of like more this, more that, less this, less that, like I'll have to research a little bit actually. Maybe I'll do that for next
It'd
podcast.
be
See if I
interesting to
can
do it
find
before we have any
anything.
monetization.
Well, yeah, maybe I can find something that's like independent people or like a group of people who have started to compile just people's stories of, I was pregnant at this point, COVID happened, got the booster, everything looks fine, lost
Well,
the
died
baby.
suddenly is very sensational. You can catch it on Rumble, but it's like it kind of tracks a lot of that, and that's more about like the anomalies of all these incredibly grotesque blood clots showing up as soon as the vaccine was widely distributed.
Yeah.
They're like blood vein longs, like they're pulling them out of people's corpses that are like these sticky, rubbery plastic.
Oh my god.
Anecdote, maybe it's a very crazy thing. You can watch it on Twitter or whatever, but like you should check it out and see what you think, because I mean, all information has a bias. This is what I normally try to do, is like try to follow the money. Where what is the financial interest behind the narrative this is pushing?
Well, have you seen
So
that
that would
guy?
tell you
Have you seen that guy that does that?
what
There's this
makes
guy. I
money.
don't know if his main stuff is on TikTok or if it's YouTube or something, but like he
Fuck
does.
TikTok.
He started doing videos. Basically, like he would take a picture of like a grocery store aisle, and then he would start going like brand by brand, breaking it all the way down to like the company that owns everything.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So like he does that for a bunch of stuff, and he's gone down like some real like rabbit holes. And he did one on the recently on like the Vegas shooter thing, which again is something that kind of went away. Didn't really happen. Like we just
Like
don't
the
talk about
years
it.
ago one
Yeah, like
at that
the big
country
one, the
concert.
worst one. I don't know, whatever it was, like the worst. I think it was the worst mass shooting in America at this point. Still, because like apparently the official story was that it was like one guy holed up in his hotel room and somehow had like an arsenal of weapons in his hotel room, which I'm like, nobody saw that happening. I guess like whatever.
It's
It's
just,
Vegas.
hey, can I get the bellboy to drop off my
But
AR-15
apparently he was
armory?
like loaded, and the official story is like it was just this one guy, and he just killed himself like long before the police even got to his room. It wasn't like they were knocking on his room, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go out that way," and shoots himself. So, but then he found this map on Google Maps, and someone had compiled all the 911 calls from Vegas around that time, all the incident reports, all the autopsy reports, like all this information of like the entire strip. And there was people all over the strip calling about shots fired. Like it wasn't just this one guy. They were like down the strip, like I don't know, 8 blocks on a completely different hotel. Someone calling 911 about someone's in the hotel with a gun. Like there was all this
Yeah.
other shit going on around that time, but yet the only story that really happened was like, oh, it's just this one guy that was in this hotel room killing everybody. It's really like, fuck, man. Is anything we're being told real? Like,
Well, this is the thing. Like we are in the information age, and like data information is actually like the way to control things, and like um, people like still mentally accept authority figures. They accept authority narratives. Like it's too complex to add variables that are unaccounted for into your worldview because we want to be able to simply understand things and have frameworks that we can navigate things easily about, so we can just peacefully exist and kind of glide through.
yeah,
So they're like there's for every person out there, there's somebody who wants to package it up for you so you can digest it, but they want it to be what they want you to know. And
yeah,
like that very much so is true. But like obviously we got some stuff we got to talk about next time. I do have to pull my pork tenderloin off of the barbecue at this point.
oh yeah,
But there's also some stuff that we got to look at. I think that'd be we have some very interesting topics we can cover. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up just so you can think about it and see if you can find anything about it. But the Bill Gates companies or group of companies, just like it's probably less than a year ago, but like as all these cancers have gone up, has recently started acquiring a ton of pharmaceutical companies that are working on cancer pharmaceuticals. So like wherever you see these kind of like money trails go, oh, it was, sure, it's just a coincidence, right? Oh, they don't have any idea about what's going, like they don't, they're just, even if they're reacting to data that is out there, so maybe there is medical data that says, oh, cancers are on the rise, but like at the end of the day, these are where these people go. They're just hoovering up cash.
yeah. They just want to make money.
And especially if it's on healthcare stuff, again, this is what it, like the public money is basically free money for these people. They literally
Yeah.
just wash it through
Well,
the
and
public
cures
purse and then put it in their pocket.
cures are not financially viable, so they don't focus a lot on curing. They focus on the management of it. Because
Yeah.
like if you can just manage something for 10 years, you're just cashing in all the time. Whereas if you can actually treat something and fix it,
Well, that's
nobody
like the
wants to do
same,
that.
like the opioid crisis. Like, what was the point of getting rid of someone's pain when you could just have them
Yeah.
purchase your product for the rest of their
And then
life?
get hooked on it and be dependent, and then yeah.
Well,
It's
it's
a
the same thing
subscription
as,
model for healthcare. Like it's all subscription based. Your entire life is subscription.
well, and even then,
Uh,
like, think about how interest for houses work. The longer somebody pays for something, the more money you make off of interest. So,
and they
like,
can somehow change the interest rate after you've paid and bought the house. That will never cease to be just blow my mind that they can just decide that now you're paying more in interest. Like fuck you, it should be what I got when I got the house. Unless I sell and move, fuck you.
yeah, but no one would lend money for that.
But it's stupid. They're already making a ton, and where does this interest rate even come from? Who decides what that is?
Well, I can tell you about that if you want, but
Maybe another time. I'm
that actually
curious
makes
enough.
more sense. That makes more sense. But I think the
It's
funnier
so
part about that
stupid. It's
is
all
that
miserable.
the government just came out with these 30-year mortgages, right? So like again, it kind of ties into the same thing. Like a customer for 5 years is worse than a customer for 30. You know, like I don't if everyone could buy their house within 5 years, what's the point? I don't have the bank doesn't have a product. The bank isn't making money. They need to make money forever and they need to make
Yeah.
a lot of it. So at the end of the day, they have no interest in getting you out of a mortgage earlier than you need to be. In fact, they'd love it
They
if
have
you had an
penalties for it.
80-year mortgage.
They have
Exactly.
penalties.
That's what I mean. So like
If you
everything,
won the lottery and walked in to buy your house out after, whatever, you get penalized for it.
yeah.
I'm like, what?
I mean, so this is the thing. Like you can't get too woke to it because it becomes
It's
you get that
really
existential
depressing.
dread washing over you.
It makes me just want to be one of those people that just like sells everything and lives in a fucking RV in a forest.
I'm there. I'm there for it.
I've honestly like the whole idea of like a small like the community living thing actually is looking really good because like
Wait,
you
what do you
just
mean by that?
just have some people that pool their money together, get some decent land, build something you can live in, and have it as self-sustaining as you can, and then not be reliant on all this fucking bullshit.
That's what I think. Like the thing is, the longer you play their game, the more you realize you can't get out of it. But then, like, and this is why, like, I kind of quit aviation. This is why I don't know, like, how long I'm gonna last. What I'm doing now, like, it's just like everything you do involves you having to do it harder, faster, stronger. Like, you can't escape it. It's just it's like being in a Chinese finger trap. Like you're trying to pull your finger out, but the thing just grips, and like you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
The only way is to just like actually just avoid ever getting into it, but that's nearly impossible too. Because like we don't create value systems around things that aren't asset based, that aren't um, money based, and that's fair. Like everyone wants to be able to afford things and like have nice things. We live in a society that has a lot to offer. It's just not it's to offer, but it's not economically available to most people in a way that
Yeah.
doesn't bend you over and just like absolutely strap you
Specific
down.
ways, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, on that delirious note, we should probably wrap it up.
Ugh. We need some more hockey talk. We need hockey to come back. This is getting really really rough.
Yeah, exactly. Just getting absolutely cooked on ridiculous topics. But I think it would be fun to kind of like dive into a few of these things as like a
Yeah.
investigative kind of exploration of it and just have a bit of a hopefully you can put a light spin on it for anybody who's out there potentially listening in the future if you ever become
Don't worry,
fans of
it
the
gets
show.
better.
Yeah, maybe we'll figure it out by then. Hey, how's it going?
Okay, man. We'll go get your pork.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have a slice of that shit. You need to go to sleep, yeah, hoser.
Yeah, I should probably do that. All right. Well, on that lovely, exhilarating discussion.
Well, yeah, let's do some research, get some topics, and we'll see everybody later this week for episode 15.
Sounds good, man.
All right, wait.
I can't hear it.
I don't know if it's actually there.